hat here somewhere. Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Captain's Quarters Podcast. This is episode 145. Cheers to everyone. Of course, our major sponsor is the Pirate and Treasure Museum. Always our sponsor, especially since I work there. Always good to have them working with us. How do you find our show, ladies and gentlemen? Davey, let's show them that QR code. YouTube, ladies and gentlemen, click that QR code. We want you to follow us. We want you to like us. I like it when people like me. And we want you to subscribe to us. All three of those. Pardon me. That way you can be in the know and up on our show when it comes up every Monday night at 8 p.m. Captain's Quarters Podcast. Now, if you can't be lucky enough to watch us live, well, then you can just watch us in the rerun, so to speak. That's always a good thing to do. To catch up with the show at any time that you want. Davey, do we have anybody watching the show right now?
7 people.
Why, how come I can't see them?
Well, Zachary Harker's already been talking.
Yeah.
Oh, how come I can't see anybody? Well, oh, I see Zachary. There we go. I see Zachary. All right. So hello, Zachary, all the way from Michigan. Very good. Our guest is Daniel Swenson. Did I pronounce it right?
Yes, you did.
Very good, our guest. And in some cases, we always let the guests sit around and stare at the screen while we do some of the first parts of the show. And Daniel's here. Daniel, you're also entitled to, since you're a guest of the show, if you have a comment to make at any point in time right now during what we're doing, speak up. You don't have to be silent in any way, shape, or form. We appreciate input from everybody. I see Parlay 8 is on. Maybe if I put my glasses on, I could see more. That might help. Ah, look, there's life at the end of my nose. All right, very good. We are being very quiet because we are hunting rabbits. No, you're not. Very, very quiet. We're hunting wabbits. Wabbits. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we always start our show with 8 bells. Davey, how many do we have this year? Or this year?
We have 8, and we also have a Fiddler's Green.
All right, very good. The Fiddler's Green. There were 2 Fiddler's Green this week. I'll make a comment on the one that you have. But 8 bells, ladies and gentlemen, is sponsored by our good friends, the family of reenactors, the Riker family. They do Spanish, they do colonial, they do British, and they do pirate. They are very instrumental in the Traveling Mayhem show also. It's very important to have them around. They do a wonderful job. And so tonight we have 8 bells and we have 9 people. So let's go ahead and kick it off, Davey. Abdul Karim Duke Fakir was an American singer. He was a founding member of the Motown quartet, the Four Tops, from 1953 until shortly before his death in 2024. As a member of the Four Tops, Fakir was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in the 1990s, received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 97, and was inducted into the Vocal Group Hall of Fame in 99, the Grammy Hall of Fame in 98, and received the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award in 2009. Was also included in the Billboard magazine Top 100 Recording Artists of All Times. The group was inducted into the National Rhythm and Blues Hall of Fame in 2013. He was 88 years old. Louis Henry Lapham was an American writer. He was the editor of the American Monthly Harper's Magazine from 76 to 81 and from 83 to 2006. He was founder of the Lapham's Quarterly, a quarterly publication about history, literature, and wrote numerous books on politics and current affairs. He was 89 years old. Martin Sean Indicay, I'll just leave it at that for now, was an American diplomat and foreign relations analyst with the expertise in the Middle East. indicates served twice as United States ambassador to Israel, 95 to 97, 2000 to 2001. Also an assistant secretary of state for the Near East affairs during Clinton administration. He was 73 years old. George Brainerd Christ, a four-star general of the United States Marine Corps, and was the first Marine to be designated as a unified commander, serving as commander-in-chief of the United States Central Command from 85 to 88. His military decorations include 2 awards of the Defense Distinguished Service Medal, the Defense Superior Service Medal, the Legion of Merit, the Bronze Star, 2 individual awards of the Air Medal, and the Joint Service Commendation Medal. He was 93 years old. Kelly Nealon Clark, an American inspirational Christian and Southern vocalist group. Is that the Kelly Clark that we all know? At the time of her death, she was the head of the family singing group known as the Nelsons. Who was inducted into the Gospel Music Hall of Fame in 2016. She won Singing News Fans Awards in the categories of Favorite Alto and Favorite Female Vocalist in 81, 80, 81, 82, 87, and 90. She was 64 years old. Denver Clayton LeMaster, an American professional baseball player and left-handed pitcher who appeared in 357 games over 11 seasons, 62 to 72, for the Milwaukee and Atlanta Braves, Houston Astros, and Montreal Expos. A one-time National League All-Star, LeMaster won 90 games over the course of his Major League Baseball career. He was listed as 6 feet 1 inch tall and 182 pounds. He was 85 years old. Erica Chantel Ash, an American actress, comedian, singer, and model. She was a cast member on the sketch comedy program Mad TV and the Big Gay Sketch Show, and she later starred in the Starz sitcom Survivor's Remorse. She was 46 years old. Al Blake, an American retired professional wrestler, better known for his ring name, Vladimir Petrov. Petrov wrestled in various North American promotions, including Jim Crockett Promotion and the Universal Wrestling Federation, most notably as a member of the Russian team and Paul Jones' army with Ivan Koloff during the 1980s. He was 86 years old. Anything else there, Davey?
Yes. Then we have
Our
yes.
Fiddler's Green. Go ahead. Fiddler's Green, Joseph Craig. Ladies and gentlemen, he was from this area, Florida. In fact, believe it or not, the rum festival several weeks ago, I think 4 weeks ago now, I actually sat and had a small chat with him, and was very surprised when I heard over the last week that he had passed on. A very sad thing. So our tip of the rum bottle, especially to Joseph Craig from 1972 to 2024, a Florida and Tennessee pirate, most notably from Florida. 8 bells to all of them there. Davey, go ahead. 8 bells. Very good, Davey. Very good. Of course, we always like to bring it up a bit, and let's bring Mini Mayhem in from the wings and have him do the joke of the week, sponsored by Salt City Comics. Some friends that are on the show, our new friend Daniel, and of course Mandy Joe. They're the ones that know old our cartoon writing. I'm trying to figure a couple of good words to throw in there. Who's made our great new podcast logo, and of course the cartoon characters of Mandy Joe and Navigator Davey and myself and Mason Hellfire Henley, who is out to sea for now, and we will be bringing him back soon, I'm sure. So go ahead, Davey. Joke of the week with Mini Mayhem.
Ahoy, mates! Mini Mayhem here with Joke of the Week, sponsored by Salt City Comics. Why wouldn't the pirate fight the octopus? Think about it, and I will give you the answer at the end of the show.
All right, so I see Mandy's brow furrowing up, and Davey just giggled, so he knows what the answer is already. and it's probably something stupid.
Yeah, I'm not sure where that one's going.
I don't. Davey, remember this is a family show, right?
Hey, it's clean.
Okay. All
I know
right.
I'm not allowed to put dirty ones.
Quote of the week, ladies and gentlemen, sponsored by our good friends at Spyglass Travel. You want a good walking tour of the ancient city, the oldest city in the nation, and exercise while you're learning history. A good brisk hour's worth of walking through the old city, and you'll learn some fantastic history from the 1500s, 1600s, 1700s, and 1800s. And what is our quote there, Davey? America will never be destroyed from outside. If we falter and lose our freedoms, it will be because we destroyed ourselves. Abraham Lincoln. That is a very appropriate quote for the times we are going through right now. That is a very good one, Davey. You did well on that one. Very good. Spyglass Travel, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, after that, we brought something new in. Let's see. National Day of. There's only 3 this time. So, Davey, what do we got? National Lipstick Day. I couldn't find my lipstick to put on for the show tonight, so I had to go without. But it is July 29th. Encourages you to wear your best color. Mine would be red. For some, lipstick is the only makeup requirement. Whether sheer, light, dark, or bright, National Lipstick Day calls for all kinds of lipstick. Very good. And this one's my favorite. And Davey, look at that. He got a little Dick's Wings advertisement in there. National Chicken Wing Day. National Chicken Wing Day encourages a frenzy of dipping and sauce tasting with our chicken wing. With so many choices, be sure to pace yourself because there are a lot of wings to be enjoyed. And the last and final one, there were only 3, National Lasagna Day. I'm sorry, Lasagna Day. July 29th is National Lasagna Day, and we encourage everyone to enjoy at least one version of the delicious layers of noodles and sauces and cheese and whatever else your heart desired to give you that perfect meal of a lasagna. Very good, Davey. Which also brings us to the question of the week. Based on one of the national days, the question of the week, sponsored by our good friends, Ancient City Sirens, Miss Gina Marie and all the girls providing dance for everything we do. We always want them to be around. If you haven't seen them dance, well, you're missing it. So make sure you come to any of our events and catch them. What's your favorite flavor of chicken wings? Believe it or not, Dick's Wings has a flavor called Pirate. It's usually the one I always get. And if you get it hot enough, it's hard to finish them. But we'll see if anybody else has a better flavor that they like. Mandy, do you have a favorite flavor?
I don't know. I usually go like simple, and it's either garlic ones or barbecue.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was a pirate flavored one, but I haven't been to Dick's Wings yet.
All right, when you come out in October, if we have time, we'll go to Dick's Wings and you can try it out, right?
I think we have them here, don't we? Do we, Daniel?
Dick's Wings?
No.
Do you have Dick's Wings
We
there?
don't?
No.
Oh.
I don't think you have Dick's Wings on that side of the world.
No, we have
You're
Buffalo
short.
Wild Wings and stuff
Oh,
like that, but not.
Yeah, Buffalo Wild Wings is nothing compared to Dick's Wings.
Yeah,
Yeah. Daniel, do you have a favorite flavor?
all of the above.
Good answer. So it does bring together one other thing. I should have made it a 2-part question. Do you like your wings hot, or are you a weakling and have to have them milder or less?
I've totally had ghost pepper wings. Yeah. I like hot and spicy.
Me too. In fact, I have somebody in the 4 of us on the screen right now. I have somebody that fed me ghost peppers one night in a
You
chili.
fed him ghost peppers, Davey?
I didn't say it was Davey.
Well, it definitely wasn't me.
It wasn't me.
Fed me ghost peppers in a chili. I should have been suspicious when he brought it over, and it was just a small, tiny, like a single serving crock pot. And he said it was just for me, and I should have been suspicious. I got a spoon and a half in, and I was done for the night. I mean, I almost had a cardiac arrest. Parlay 8 has said standard buffalo, and yes, we have chicken wings tonight. Oh, very good. National Chicken Wings, very good. I like my wings plain and dip them in blue cheese dressing. Well, that's good too. and Cajun seasoning on my wings. Very
Yeah,
good.
that's good.
Yeah, I don't know how much Cajun seasoning they have up in Michigan, but I'd be interested in that one. Very good. So, did they hold you down? I see BG asked that, and I'm trying to see what the holding down was for. Was it me?
I
Feeding
would
the
have,
ghost?
I
probably
would've-
feeding you the ghost pepper.
Yeah.
Hey, I've traveled the world. I've eaten some spices from all around the world. And I just had one of my favorite chicken dinners the other night. For the first time, it's now one of my favorites. There's a new Mexican restaurant in St. Augustine where you'll be hearing a lot more about them in the weeks to come. In fact, that might be where we do one of our shorts, Davey. I'll go down there and eat that chicken meal so you can watch my nose run and my eyes water because it only took 2 bites and it was there. But I ate it. I cleaned my plate. So we might be doing that. We're looking at ideas to do shorts if anybody was wondering. So I see William. William is here and he's watching us, I believe. Are you still in Spain, William? Just let us know. William is, he had a food truck here in St. Augustine for the longest time, and he did some of our catering for some of our events. All right. So we've done all of that. It's time for one more thing before we go on to anything else, and that's This Week in Nautical History, sponsored by Florida Water Tours. Nautical, Florida Water Tours, can't beat that combination right there. Ladies and gentlemen, like Spyglass Travel, if you want a good tour of the city of St. Augustine, but you want to do it from the Matanzas Bay, then Florida Water Tours is your go-to. You need to do that. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Florida Water Tours bringing you This Week in Nautical History.
Welcome to This Week in Nautical History, sponsored by our friends at Florida Water Tours. Experience the Intercoastal Waterway at its finest, featuring picture-perfect attractions. We begin this week in nautical history in the year 1492. Christopher Columbus, with Juan de la Cosa, second in command, set sail on his first voyage with 3 ships, Santa Maria, Pinta, and Nina, from Palos de la Frontera, Spain, for the Indies. 1498, Christopher Columbus once again is the first European to discover the island of Trinidad on his 3rd voyage. Also in the year 1498, Christopher Columbus lands in South America for the first time, near the mouth of the Orinoco River in modern-day Venezuela. 1560, Turkish fleet recaptures Derba on the Spanjardin. 1588, the invincible Spanish Armada is sighted approaching England. Several skirmishes follow, forcing the invading fleet to make a long and costly retreat around Scotland and Ireland. 1715, 10 Spanish treasure galleons sunk off Florida coast by a hurricane. 1775, Captain James Cook, with HMS Resolution, safely returns to England at the end of his 2nd voyage. 1942, FDR signs bill creating Women's Navy Auxiliary Agency, WAVES. 1945, after delivering the atomic bomb across the Pacific, the cruiser USS Indianapolis is torpedoed and sunk by Japanese submarine I-58. 880 of the crew died, many after being attacked by sharks. The inspiration for the movie Jaws. 1956, Jacques Cousteau's Calypso anchors in 7,500 meters of water, sets record. And finally, in 1967, fire aboard carrier USS Forrestal in Gulf of Tonkin kills 134. And that was This Week in Nautical History.
Very good, Davey. I actually have silver in our collection from the 1715 fleet off the coast of Florida. Also, if any of you are wanting to know a little bit of pirate history, 1715, that summer, is the only time Blackbeard ever set foot in Florida. Although I guess setting foot would not be quite right because I don't know that he came ashore. He was just out there in the ocean trying to figure out how to get all that silver from those 10 ships. So the 1715 fleet is a very big deal. Good one, Davey. You always find the right ones. You do a very good job. We also want to talk about new adventures. I have 3 things to talk about. First, the t-shirt poster, Davey. You want to buy a t-shirt for this Captain's Quarters podcast? We'd love to have you buy one. There are the QR codes. We'd love for you to do one. We are going to give a certain amount of the proceeds to our friends at the Humane Society. So you're helping us put some money and some food over at the Humane Society by the end of August. So we hope you'll join us for there. A portion goes to them, a portion goes to the crew, and the rest obviously will pay for the shirts. So join us there and buy a podcast t-shirt. You'll look really cool wearing one of our podcast t-shirts. On that note, what's next? Oh, yes, Spooktacular. If you want to be a Jack-o'-lantern sponsor, we're looking for 16 sponsors. Believe it or not, with notes and messages I've gotten over the last 2 days, we may have at least half of our sponsorship for the 16 sponsors already taken up. There will be some major sponsorships putting out over the next 2 weeks. So if we have half, we only have 8 more to go, and everybody's taken advantage of the sponsorship before the 5th of August. We hope that you will also. So please join us in sponsoring the Spooktacular 2024. The money goes to Inc., Investing in Kids, and Alia's Acres, a no-kill animal zone. So we hope that you will spend $200 and be a scene sponsor and be a part of our show. The crew's already begun working on everything. It's looking to be the best Spooktacular of our 9 years. So we're looking forward to that. And one other thing, Davey, did you happen to get there it is. Look at that. Why do I even ask? I have no idea why I asked. Davey's always on the ball. He is a navigator of navigators. A Pirates Plunder Game Night is this Friday night, August 3rd from 6 to 9 at the Palm Coast Community Center, sponsored by and put on by the Seawolf Privateers. It'll be a fun night with some camaraderie, some laughter, some games of chance. I'll be playing blackjack. And all the money will be, believe it or not, going to their foster children program in Flagler County. If any of you are free for Friday night, need something to do, come down and have a drink with me. Play a little blackjack. Help raise some money for exactly what we need. Upon that note, our guest. Wait a minute. Did I get it all? I got it all. Very good. And so you see a stranger person watching us, ladies and gentlemen. This is Daniel Swenson. We advertised him and introduced him at the beginning of the show. But now it's an official advertisement and an official introduction. So I am going to turn it over to Miss Mandy Joe. Mandy, give us a good introduction for this man here. You know him. You brought him in. Now, all I know at this point right now is he's an author, at least written 3 or 4 books, and he has a podcast. He's a podcaster like us, but probably a bit more successful so far. And what else has he done? And give us a good introduction for this man, since I put you on the spot.
Well, I don't know. I've known him for probably 12 or 13 years, but he's probably one of the biggest geeks and or nerds I will ever meet. So if you want any info on Deadpool, he's probably seen it. I have too, but we won't play spoiler games there. Twice
already.
You've seen it twice?
It's amazing, though. So,
well,
I may be seeing it again after this show.
But he's written multiple books, including children's books. He does work off and on with my charity group and helps us fundraise. And then his Dungeon Crawlers Geek podcast, which is geek stuff, tabletop gaming, and books. And he teaches at LTUE.
And he what?
He taught classes, I think. Isn't one of what he was at LTUE?
Yeah, I've done various writing seminars and conferences where I've taught on panels on writing and world building and other things.
So how long have you had this podcast? The podcast is called Dungeon Crawlers Podcast, right?
Yeah. So it's been around since December of 2008. So it's been around for 15 years now. In that time, I've interviewed multiple authors, game designers, TV and movie personalities as well, which has been fun and exciting. And I've had the opportunity to help other people, launch their book careers and get their games known that would probably otherwise not be known. And yeah, just had the great opportunity of talking to these people, which eventually gave me the idea to jump out there and write my own book.
So your knowledge of 15 years of podcasting basically is what Mandy's been using to help us propel a little bit further away after, or a little bit further into the world after 145 episodes. And we learned a few lessons over the first year or two, which I'm sure you did too.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I definitely learned quite a bit. And yeah, Mandy's reached out every now and then, like, hey, what about this? What do you think on this idea? So, and she's not the only one. I've met several people that have done podcasts and video casts that have asked for my insight and opinions, which is, again, something fun. I love helping out other people.
And podcasting is fun. And podcasting, I give a plug to my podcast at almost every tour I do in the Pirate Museum, even the school tours, because the teachers then will take my card and then pass the information on to the kids, because we try to keep this as a fairly family friendly show.
Mm-hmm.
And it does have history. We have a whole lot of segments in our show. Sometimes I wonder if we don't jump around too much, but I think the segments, and you can tell me right here in front of everybody, the multiple segments that we do, I think keeps everybody interested, at least in some vein of their own interest also.
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing as I was watching and you bouncing through things is, there's stuff you're learning. There's history there. There's things that people probably didn't know before, and now they get to learn that. When we're doing our show, we do something similar, but it's kind of, it's tied into writing or it's tied into the games. It depends on what our topic is, and so I think that's one of the reasons why people come to podcasts, is to be entertained, to hear something interesting, to learn something, and to walk away knowing something a little bit more than what they did before they started listening.
I believe that full force that is probably the biggest reason why people watch podcasts. It's also one of the biggest reasons. You'll notice that when we did our pre-show with you and had a conversation, I don't really ask or tell you what I'm going to ask you ahead of time.
And I do the same thing. We fly by the hip.
Well, I worked in Las Vegas for quite a few years and did comedy clubs in other places besides Vegas, and everything I did was improv. Mm-hmm. I truly believe that improvisation, whether it's question and answers or conversations or a show, I believe is the most entertaining, because you never know what's going to happen.
Yep.
And even the stupidest things that happen. And I'll give you a perfect example, because Davey can verify this. I don't remember if Mandy was watching the show, but I was having some particular pain one night before the show, and I imbibed a gummy or two.
Okay.
By the end of the show, I had no idea what I was doing and where I was at. And everybody else was laughing their asses off at me and having a good time with it. But me, but it's improv. The unexpected is better entertainment than the expected.
I totally agree.
So it's a lot of fun. What is your? I'm going to ask this I'm going to ask it as a two-parter. Okay.
All right.
What is one of the first things that you embarrassingly learned while you were starting your podcast?
To hit the record button. We did an entire hour-long episode, had this great conversation, and I forgot to hit record.
Oh, that's Davey. That ever happens with you, you're walking the plank.
Yeah, I mean, that's happened before. That was a very hard lesson to learn, and it was back in the day when I had a really small soundboard. We didn't do video. We did it in person, It
was all sound. It was no video at all.
It was all sound.
Wow.
And that soundboard, when you hit record, there wasn't a light that showed up showing that it was recording. And so, yeah, we did the entire episode. We were like pumped because it was this great thing. And then I looked down after we were done. I'm like, uh-oh, I didn't hit record. The second go around was okay, but it wasn't as good as the first time.
It never is. It never is, because I've done some shows and I go, oh God, that was great. And nobody got pictures and nobody got video, and you try to duplicate it.
And you
And
just
your
can't. The magic's
efforts-
gone.
Yeah, the magic is gone. Your efforts to duplicate something like that, you're so focused on trying to duplicate it, it seems measured and prescribed, and it doesn't work well.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's really it's a tough one. I think one of our lessons learned was I think the one time it really took hold of us. I had a show, and my brother was on the show was it my brother or my son? I think it was my brother from over in Panama City. And there's these two guys in the public eye that play the cello. A pair of brothers, they're twins. They play the cello, and they were playing Pirates of the Caribbean on the cello.
Nice.
And I thought, well, they're on YouTube. We're going to borrow their YouTube video, and we put it into our show. And that part of our show and a good portion of our show got blacked out by YouTube because we used it.
The entire episode got locked down.
Yeah.
I downloaded the episode and edited it out to put it back up without those pieces that were causing it.
And it was a good episode. It really was. It was a fun show. It was all about pirates. And I think it was with my brother because we were talking about going to Panama City. And my brother is.
It was your brother.
Yeah. And my brother is in the audience tonight. I thought I saw him come in. Did he come in, Mandy? Did you see him in there?
I saw your son.
I know my son is in. My son is Will the historian. He's a history teacher. I
Nice.
think I saw Mayhem pop in. Now, Mayhem over in Panama City may be listening to the show. He may not be watching the show. He's had some difficulty and has had to have some operations done with his eyes. And so he's recovering from some eye surgery. So hopefully he's listening. There he is. There he is. Yep. See, yes, I can hear. So your eyes did not affect your ears. So very good. We have my brother on the show as well. So that's the negative side. Do you have a really good, like, most favorite thing that ever happened?
Oh, there's a lot. But
go ahead.
I was going to say, to reference back to your issue where you had that, next time, just reach out to them, say, hey, we want to have this as part of our video, get their permission, and then cite them on the show. Then it
was a Disney flag.
Oh, never mind.
It went further than that.
Yeah, if it's Disney,
that's why I just gave up and downloaded and wiped out stuff.
I forgot. Yeah, Disney, forget it.
Yeah,
lawyers will kill everything.
That was it. Yeah, you can't fight the Disney gods. That's just you can't do it. It's just I had a fight once. I'll tell you a story, and then we'll go to your favorite.
Yeah,
I had a fight with Disney once. I had a show that I wanted to do in Tucson, Arizona, in a theater in Tucson, Arizona. I had the use of a theater for up to a year. I think we only did about 8 months. And the man that was going to back the show, and it was thousands of dollars, so he had a say in what was going on. He said, you should call this show not Mayhem, because I wasn't Mayhem back then. And I went by Bill McRae and Phantasm. I said, I can't do that. That's Disney. He said, doesn't matter. Do it anyway. I said, it'll just get us in trouble. He said, here's how you handle it. And this is before internet and all the other stuff, right?
Yeah.
He said, do it. Print your posters up. Put the information out there. And when they send you the first letter, you go to the newspaper and tell the newspaper that Disney is beating up on you. And they'll do all kinds of articles on you. And we made publicity on the news and everything else because Disney was beating up on us because we had decided to do that. And then we changed the name of the show. Free publicity.
Yep.
That's what it was. Free publicity. So I should have known better when we put the Cello Boys on, but I didn't. So let's go back to you now.
Yeah.
You've probably the best thing is that you have great guests, but go ahead.
I mean, we've had a lot of really cool, amazing moments, and I've had one white whale that, like, I wrote when I first started. I wrote down a list of people that I wanted to have on the show. I've accomplished all of those but one, and that would be George Lucas. That would be really amazing to pull that one off, but I haven't been able to. But like one of my all-time favorite moments ever is I got to interview actor Michael Rosenbaum, who played Lex Luthor on Smallville. I'm a huge Superman nut, much like the other person, Travis Romney. It was on. And so I'm interviewing him. It's at a one of these Comic Cons, and I'm interviewing him. We're having this great interview, and I feel this pressure on my shoulder. And this guy's like, "Yeah, we're gonna have to shut this down." And I'm thinking, "Oh man, security has shown up. They're gonna pull me off the floor. I'm in trouble because I'm interviewing him on the floor." And I'm just like, "This is bad." And I turn my head, and it's Bruce Campbell, the guy that plays Ash Williams from Evil Dead, and a countless number of other, shows.
Autolycus.
Yeah, and I'm freaking out because I've been a Bruce Campbell fan for longer than I've been, Michael Rosenbaum fan. And then the two start this fight in front of my camera, just beating each other up and throwing each other around. Again, I'm sure it was all an act. And I'm just like stunned, like I don't know what to do. Like, do I stop this? Do I just watch this? And then Michael Rosenbaum grabs Bruce Campbell and throws him off camera, and he's like, "Oh, I know that guy. We're gonna go get drinks afterwards and ride bikes." And I'm like, "Cool." And then I just went back into it. It was one of the greatest interviews I've ever had because this unscripted craziness happened. Kind of like we said, the improv, where I couldn't control anything, but it was one of the greatest moments I've ever had. So that was really cool.
I would have problems talking because I'm a huge Bruce Campbell fan.
Yeah.
In fact, and this will show how bad I am with memories, but he was in a show that was filmed out of Miami, Burn Notice.
Yeah, Burn Notice. Fantastic show.
I love Burn Notice. He was the king of thieves in
Yep.
Xena Warrior. And in fact, we had on our show the Davey Sears was the major producer or executive producer of Xena.
The writer for Xena.
The writer for Xena and Hercules. And so we had him on our show.
Mainly Xena, but he also did. He wrote for so many other shows like the A-Team,
and some of the
Swamp
others.
Thing, and
that's nice. The best part is meeting some of these people and finding out, especially when you go to a Comic-Con, which I'm going to ask you a question because Davey and I are still trying to work this one out. But when you go to these cons, you get to meet some of these people.
Oh, yeah.
And you get to meet them in an everyday, normal kind of a human being type of thing. At least before maybe they get on stage and they start signing autographs for everybody.
Yeah.
But so I have a question for you then. Since we have you as a guest and we're talking about the great things we do, we have Ancient City Con here in St. Augustine.
Mm-hmm.
And it's gotten to be a very big con. And there are some great celebrities. In fact, Davey, who was the one that we interviewed that was in Rocky Horror.
Oh, the one who played Brad Majors.
Yes, we interviewed him. We got to interview. So the monkey, the actor that plays the monkey in Umbrella Society, which I just saw the last season is coming out, which I've been warned on. We got to interview him. How do you handle the outside noise of everything so your interviews go well? Because we've been fighting with this for 2 years now, and we haven't done a very good job.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I have some really good mics that are able to cut out a lot of the noise. I also have a really good portable soundboard, which I can share afterwards. What the device name is, it has a sound dampening capability in that. So between those, that really cuts out noise. Another option, there are
Sound boosts.
You could have lapel mics that you have that you could put on them, and of course those have some sound dampening technology on them as well, because the closer you can get the mic to them where you're not holding it out in the air, That cuts down on a lot of the noise. And then, of course, just editing, where you can edit a lot of that out. But another thing we always do is we always let them know, hey, this is live in an event, so there may be some background noise, and a lot of people are very okay with that when they know that it's live and in an
We're
event.
also considering building a portable sound booth that we can invite them in and come sit down at a table with us in a portable sound booth.
And that's good too. But again, when you're at these conventions, sometimes they're not able to leave,
True.
and it's harder to get them to come to somewhere. But for the most part, I think a lot of those microphones help out a lot.
Barry Bostwick, thank you, the historian.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we've had some really good interviews, but after they were done and we sat and listened to them, it's like, oh God, that's embarrassing. We're supposed to be professionals, and this is what we did. And between Davey and I, we go, we're not gonna post that. One of the fun ones was two cons ago, all the children, all the kid actors from Stranger Things.
Oh yeah.
The con.
From the Rainbow Room.
Yeah, they came. They enjoyed sitting at the pirate booth with us pirates more than they enjoyed sitting at their own booth signing autographs.
Nice.
So it was a lot of fun. So you really get to meet some cool people, and the cons make it really a lot of fun. So,
yeah. Well, and the nice thing is that I've had with the experience, you see these people in TV and show and that, and then when you sit down with them, there's kind of this veil of mystery that's parted, and you see that they're just normal people, and this is their job, and you can have these normal conversations with them that turn into really fascinating things. Dirk Benedict, that played Starbuck from the old Battlestar Galactica years ago. I went up to him and asked for an interview, and he's like, I don't do interview. I don't talk to press anymore. I'm like, okay, cool. I appreciate your time. I was really polite and nice with him. And I start walking away. He's like, you want to know what? I changed my mind. Come back. Turned into an hour-long interview. And we just talked about everything from barbecuing to why he left Hollywood to be with his kids and, cigars and all sorts of just normal everyday stuff. But it was really cool just to be able to shoot the breeze like that with him. For someone that, at least for me, was this iconic actor that I watched because he was Starbuck. He was Face on A-Team and all these other really great shows that I watched when I was younger.
And I think that's one of the things I love more than anything else. Nightingale in Florida wants to know if you interviewed anybody from Star Trek. Before you answer that, though, let me finish my thought.
Sure.
I've had some conversations after the con closes down and you're sitting at the bar or sitting in a restaurant, you're having a drink, and there's no cameras. I don't have Davey and the microphones. I've had some conversations with some of the lesser known stars of certain events.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them, like Harry Potter, some of the other wizards in Harry Potter.
Yeah.
And you end up having these conversations where they share with you these ideas of how you can do some other things or connections or web links or just there. I guess overall all these people that are in the business, they want to share not only their experiences, but how to make other people have the same experiences, because they're all normal, down to earth people. Now, granted, living in Las Vegas, I've had some conversations with some real stuck up idiots. It's happened.
Yeah.
But when you get to have a conversation over a couple of rums or dinner even, it really makes, to me, that's the best part. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that more than anything else. So going back to what she asked, have you ever interviewed anybody from Star Trek?
I have. There's been Tim Russ and a few others. I will admit I am not a Star Trek fan. Most people already know that. My parents are huge Trekkies. I am a Star Wars fan, and we have interviewed. I've mainly let my other guys that are on the show with me do those interviews because I'm not a big Trekkie, but that's okay. Much to my parents' chagrin, they're just like, just do it. I'm like, nah, just not my thing.
but Star Wars is it.
Star Wars is my thing. I have been to every film in the theater. Granted, the very, very first one, I was really, really young. But I've been every film that has come out, I've seen in the theater. But but it spoke to me. It's just been really something that's spoke to me. And as far as, going to what you said, I think human nature is we want to help. If we have information or something that we can help people with, we do. There are some people that are really stuck up and they think they're better than everyone else. There's few of those, but for the most part, I think everyone wants to help. They want to help another person avoid the pitfalls or the traps they did, or give some helpful insight that will help them improve and be better.
I think there's a reason for that, in such a way that by sharing what you've already gone through and helping other people, you're promoting yourself too.
Yeah.
And that's very important. Will the historian is my son, and he asked if you would interview anybody else or talk to anybody else from Superman. My son is a huge Superman fan, and I'll give you a story real quick. When the Superman and my son's going to have to pop out and tell me the year, but I think it was 2006 when the Superman of that time frame, the dark-haired guy.
That would be Brandon Routh.
Yes, that's it.
Yep.
I was security chief at a casino that had a movie theater, and I was able to acquire the movie poster.
Nice.
And big banner. And I sent them to my son, and he actually has had them all these years. And he went to a con in Alabama last year and met Brandon Routh and had him sign the poster, the actual real one. And then he met Dean
Cain.
Dean Cain, and so he's a big Superman fan. So who have you worked with or talked with from?
Yeah, so I've interviewed Brandon Routh. I have talked to Dean Cain. I also have talked to Tom Welling. So those are my Supermen that I have. Unfortunately, Christopher Reeves I never got to. That would have been amazing. And then of course, Henry Cavill right now. And then I can't even remember the new guy who's going to be taking over the mantle. But yeah, those are the ones that I have with Superman, and great human beings. I mean, Brandon, when I interviewed him, we were out on the convention floor and talking to him, and we talked about after we did the interview, because I gave him my card, he talked about our logo and he thought it was really unique and everything like that. And we just had this really down to earth conversation again, because, there was stuff that was happening in his life that he couldn't talk about. But after the interview stopped, we got to talk about, how he was going to be Ray Palmer, the Atom in the new Arrowverse, with Green Arrow and the Flash and that. And that was really cool that after everything stopped, he's like, okay, I want to tell you this really cool thing. And then we got to talk about that, which it's really cool when they do that. But then again, I'm like, I won't say anything, I promise, because you don't want to get anything out like that and get him in trouble. But it was really cool. He confided in that way.
I have just found that this podcast has opened things up. And then there's been a few people that have come to the Pirate Museum, where I've worked for 14 and a half years, that come to the Pirate Museum to meet the pirate, ZZ Tops. Wait, I like these guys. They come to meet me.
Yeah.
So it gives you that. I think what it does is to me, it proves that the entertainment world is a smaller community of people that want to work and help each other and share their talents. That's important. And the knuckleheads and the idiots and the people that you have problems with in the entertainment business, they're few and far between. I think it's one of the reasons why I'm a huge Ricky Gervais fan, because he has no problems with telling them exactly what they need to hear.
Yeah, tell it as it is.
And I'm a huge fan of his too. So I think this show has opened us up to do some things, and when we do Ancient City Con, we get to meet more. So it's always a lot of fun. So what was your original goal when you started your podcast, though?
So honestly, my original goal when I started the podcast was to get onto radio. So I was working for a local radio station, and I went to the I talked to the program manager, and I'm like, hey, I want to get on air. That's my goal. Because I was one of those guys that, when they go on location, I'd set everything up, I'd hook up all the equipment, They'd do their thing. I'd tear it apart. I'd give away gifts, and then, prizes. I'd head home. And I'm like, I really want to get on. Like, I'll work overnights, I'll work weekends, like whatever. I just want to get on. And the program director just looked at me and said, I can't put you behind the mic unless you have experience. And I'm just like, well, how am I supposed to get experience then? And he's like, you got to figure that out. Because a lot of people going into the radio industry, they start being on a radio show like in college, the college
Right.
radio show or something like that, something really simple. And then they can work up to that. And here I'm trying to, I guess, skip that, which doesn't make sense. And so I just decided, I went home, just puzzled, trying to figure this out. And I'm like, what if I did a podcast? And I just got a few of those out, showed that, hey, here's my experience. And, then I could get on air. Well, needless to say, I never got on air. That radio station went under. My podcast is still going. And it took a life of its own. And it's like I've gotten to meet a lot of amazing people. It got me to a point where I started writing my own books. Started speaking at conventions where I'm on panels, and then I was speaking at writing conferences and teaching how to write and things like that. So it took me in a different way that I wanted to go, but it still kind of provided what I was hoping for, is by entertaining other people.
So you started doing podcasts 15 years ago, which is way before COVID.
Yes.
Do you believe that COVID and the lockdown of everything created a huge boom in online and podcast?
I do believe, because, we were stuck. Everyone was hoping for some form of entertainment and connection, because we're trapped in our house. We can't go anywhere. And so they're just, we're human beings that thrive on connecting with other human beings. And when you're stuck and not having that, we're looking for anything. TV and movies are great, but it's not very interactive. Like, your guys' show right now, there are people asking questions as we're going along. So there's some interaction there. They're being a part of the show. They're connecting, not only as an audience, but as a participant in the show. So I think they're all looking for that. We're all thriving for it. And, we're just desperate for any form of connection we could find at that time. And I do believe that there are other aspects that create booms with podcasts. Like for us, when I first started, there wasn't I didn't have a lot of competition. I think it was me and two other shows. And then the local Comic-Con rolled in, and then it went from me and two other shows to about 100, and it was just the pond I was floating in just shrunk because so many people dove in. And not that it was bad having competition, it was just crazy with the number of different shows that showed up after that. So there's a lot of factors that really create those booms.
Well, competition is not a bad thing.
No, it's not.
I believe competition is a good thing, as long as everybody's playing in the same direction, so to speak, or along the same rules.
Yeah.
I've had to deal with competition with other magicians in places that I've been where I've done magic, and now here doing pirate. And when we first started to talk about doing the show, I had already wanted to do the show, and I'm not a technologically savvy person. It's one of the reasons I have. You don't have to agree there, Mandy. Thank you very much. But it is one of the reasons that I rely entirely on Davey and Mandy.
Mm-hmm.
I am just the pretty face, and when I die, they can put a stuffed animal here and get the same results, I'm sure. So, but there have been things that we've talked about. We try very hard not to make our show in any way, shape, or form leaning political in any way.
Oh yeah.
I do not want to. I have my opinions being a historian, and I can argue with the best of them, but I just don't want to get in those modes. And even though, and we get a lot of people that'll ask us a question. So this is leading up to the question I'm going to ask you.
Sure.
A lot of people, when they see me and I'm advertising, I'm giving them a card and it's called Captain's Quarters Podcast. They go, "Can you talk about that much pirate stuff?" No.
Oh.
No, I could, I guess we
Probably
could,
could. Yeah.
but I saw our show as being something that was more history.
Hmm.
And so we have another segment that comes up in a minute. I mean, Eight Bells is modern history. We're talking about people that have done something in our lifetime.
Yeah.
And so that's history. The nautical history is nautical time, and then we do world history. So we have these segments of history. Like you said earlier, people get to learn some things. But I never wanted to pigeonhole us into a completely pirate-oriented podcast.
Mhm.
This scene that we're in, this is about as pigeonholed as we're going to get. So that brings me to this. When you started doing your show, did you have a set idea where you wanted, or did you want it to be full of variety, or did you want it just because you've interviewed a lot of authors, but you've interviewed a lot of stars? Did you have
Yeah.
a direction you were going to go?
I mean, the show has continued to evolve. When we originally started it, it was a podcast that was talking about gaming. You know, that's where the Dungeon Crawler radio name came from, because we were originally going to talk about D&D and board games. That was the Dungeon Crawl. But the dungeon name also came from because we were sitting in my friend's basement and he literally had bars on his windows. So that kind of gave us that theme. And I mean, this is kind of a quirky thing, because you guys are, love pirates and stuff like that. The room we were in had nothing but nautical stuff. It had ships and everything related to pirates and boats and that, because his grandfather that used to own the home was huge into the Navy and nautical stuff. So we had all those components, and it was really focused with games. And we were doing really well with that. About 3 months in, we were a local convention that no longer exists, reached out to us, said, "Hey, we'd love to have you come in. We have the authors that are here, and we think this would be a really good opportunity for you to talk to some of these authors, because they love playing games and stuff like that." And then we went, and that's where the component of interviewing authors, because after the very first one we had was horrible. I'll admit this. I won't say the person's name, but it was the worst interview I've ever done in my entire life. The guy was not the nicest. He ripped us a new one because we didn't know who he was. After that, I just looked at my partner. I'm like, I don't ever want to do this again. Like, we're never interviewing another person ever. And then the guys in charge came over and said, "Hey, this is author so and so. Do you want to interview him?" We're like, "Sure." Nicest guy in the world. Like, that one went so much better. And then he's like, "I got this really good friend of mine. He's doing really well. He has a big thing coming up, and he can't say anything about that, but he can talk about everything else." And that was before Brandon Sanderson and that's who it was, got his big Wheel of Time deal, and then exploded into the upper stratosphere of A-lister writers. But after that, having these reasonable human interactions with these authors, I'm like, this has got to be a part of the show. I love this. I love helping these people out. I love hearing how they came about to be writers. I love hearing their opinions and thoughts on creating characters and storylines. And so I just turned to my buddy and said, this has to be a part of the show. He's like, "All right, we'll do it." And then we went along with that. And then we got to a point where, like, yeah, we're talking about these games, but we love the components of the insight with the writing. Let's bring in game designers and hear about those components. Like, how did they come up with the idea for this mechanic, or how did they come up with the idea for this game? And so we started bringing them in. And then it evolved again, where we got to, okay, we're doing really good here. These conventions are coming in with these actors and stuff like these, of these franchises and TV shows and movies we love. Why don't we interview them too? They're no different than authors. And so we brought them in, and it was these really cool, great conversations. So it started out one way, but over time it grew and evolved to something else. And I think that's like any show out there, or any person, we grow and evolve. And podcasts, yours, mine, and anyone else's, it's the same thing. It's a living being, and it grows and evolves as long as we allow it to do so.
We really do evolve with what we've done. If you look at some of our first shows, it would be the same thing as if you looked at me as a pirate in 2007, 2008 when I first started.
Yeah.
I try not to show those pictures anymore because that's not the pirate character I became. But over these last 15 years, that pirate character is melted into the podcast that we're doing and all the other things that we do. So you're right. It does evolve.
Yeah.
And the evolving of it all, the changing of it, the sticking with the directions of the interest of the people that are watching you is very important. We always put out there every week. I always try to tell everybody, if you have an idea, send it to us.
Yeah.
And then I spend time looking at the calendar and trying. Like next week, our guest is a Marilyn Monroe lookalike. She's a Marilyn Monroe impersonator.
Nice.
And next week happens to be the anniversary of Marilyn Monroe's death. So we're bringing her on the show to talk about Marilyn Monroe and that part of American Hollywood. So we do all these different things, much like you said you're doing. And I think that's what makes these shows, it opens up your audience to everybody.
It does. Yeah, because if you were to stay just with pirate history, it's fascinating, it's amazing, but that makes it very niche, and that's you're going to get a smaller audience. But when you open it up to, it's more than just pirate history. It's about, information on Marilyn Monroe. It's information on this. It's, Travis Romney came on and he's talking about being a comic book artist and his love of Superman and everything else, which I'm pretty sure was lengthy. Knowing Travis, it'd be really interesting if the both of us were on at the same time. But
you know what? We might have to do a show like that. I think it would be a lot of fun having Travis here. We'll have to tell Mandy she can't be in the show, but
I can just go drive Travis up to Daniel's house and put everybody in one spot.
Oh yeah.
So Parlay 8, who has a podcast, and they only do a certain number of shows every year.
Mm-hmm.
They're pirate. And we became friends because when I found out about their show, I started watching them. And then I said, hey, we need to do a cross show.
Yeah.
So we did some stuff with them. They did some stuff with us. Our Pirate Festival last year, they came down and did a live show at our Pirate Festival. They're going to be on our show in August.
Nice.
We're going to be on their show in September. And so you find podcast people that have similar directions.
Mm-hmm.
And you start working with them. We're part of what's called the IPC, International Pirate Community, which is about, is it 15 now, Davey? I think 15.
I think it's 15.
15 podcasts and radio programs across the world that are pirate themed.
Nice.
Some of them are pirate music all the time. So we are a part of that. So we share information and bring people in. And I'm a huge proponent. And I like what you do as far as the authors are concerned. I'm a huge proponent of making sure that children understand that reading is probably one of the most important things they should learn.
Oh, yeah.
And so we do a segment in our Pirates festival every February where we have Authors Row.
Mm-hmm.
And anybody that has books, they're invited to come. They do not pay for a place to do it. They get to be a part of the event and they get to display their books and talk about it. They can sell their books. All we ask is that they give us a book or 2 or 3 with their autographs on them that we use down the road for auction items for our other events. That's all we do. And so last year we had 6. I think we're scheduled for 9 authors this year. And we started 4 years ago with only 2 or 3 authors. So the authors are hearing about it. And so that's an offhanded way of saying you may not be able to come out here, but we would still love to have you think of a way to come out here in February, the first weekend in February.
Well, to be fair, Florida is one of the few states I've never been to, so that would be amazing.
Well,
it's on my list.
See if we can figure it out, and it's the first weekend in February, and have you be here because as we haven't talked about, and forgive me for not doing this yet, but you've written 3 books.
So
There's one.
I have 3 current books that are published, 4 short stories that are published, and the 4th book is it's with the editor, and I'm working on my 5th book. So the 2 main books are urban military fantasy. So basically, modern setting.
Is that
That's A Dragon's Fate is the second of the 2. The first one's the Shadow Above the Flames. So it's a modern day setting. Basically, fossil fuels have ran out. Everyone's freaking out, trying to find new resources of fuel. Sounds kind of familiar. And then they're digging in this field just outside this village in Ireland. And unfortunately, this corporation unleashes a dragon that pretty much wreaks most of Europe. It's rumored that that it came over to Manhattan, destroyed Manhattan, and disappeared. And this organization sends an elite team to go retrieve something from the drilling site that they lost. It's extremely important. Things go wrong, and the oldest brother of one of the members of that team learns that his brother's there, and things are going wrong, and he goes to rescue his brother. And he moves heaven and earth to save his brother from this dragon.
See, we don't limit our authors to pirate books.
Yeah.
We have a woman that does a book. I have several copies of it. We give them away. Wicked St. Augustine. It is a historical reference to everything illegal in St. Augustine since the very beginning of St. Augustine. Rum running and prostitution and gambling and anything else you can think of. And so Gene, the person that just popped up there, that's my first mate of the crew.
Nice.
Of our pirate crew. And her other half is my quartermaster. So we don't limit what kind of books we have or what kind of authors we have, because I like variety.
Yeah.
And I want the authors to really do well. And I want this festival that we do, I want it to be a point that they'll tell other authors. And now we do get people that write us and say, hey, I'd like to come down. Cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I may have to figure out other ways to take care of the authors. We're starting to get so many, which is not a bad thing.
It's not. It's a good thing. And not only that, when you're together like that, and what I've seen in the past is where, an author will be pitching their book and they're like, yeah, I don't really read that type of stuff. I like this. And they're like, oh, if you like that, go look at his books, because they're just as willing to help you out. Very few times have I ever seen, an author go like, well, no, you like mine better. There's things more often than not. They're a community, and they're like, yeah, if you don't like mine, but that's what the genre you like, go read his books. You'll love them. Mine are those are very adult themed. But the nice thing is, I wanted my kids, especially my younger kids, to be able to read a book of mine. And so I wrote my kids' book, which is called Ginger Snap, a Redhead's Guide to Not Be Eaten by a Dragon. It's about an 11-year-old boy that believes that dragons exist and that they love to eat redheads because they taste like ginger snap cookies. So it's a really good book. It's about bullying and overcoming bullies and how to kind of find yourself. And not only that you can find friends that will rally around you even when the rest of the world doesn't believe you. So it was a really fun book to write, and the sequel, I'm excited for that one to come out. So,
well, think about it and let Mandy talk you into coming out in February and enjoying Augustine. And
I'm sure it won't be much of an arm twist.
Good. I'd love to have you out.
Yeah.
Maybe if we time it right, we can do a live podcast with you in studio here.
Yeah, no, that'd be fun.
It'd be a lot of fun. So sounds like your books would make great movies.
Yes, they would. I just need to find the right connections. Dragons, explosions. I mean, like you saw on the cover of A Dragon's Fate, the big fight at the end. I mean, there's Apache helicopters flying around the ruins of Manhattan, fighting this dragon. It just looks amazing. And not only that, one component I left out is, because the dragons return, magic is returning to the world. So magic did exist. So
that's good.
Yeah.
So do you have the ability to convert a book into a screenplay?
I just need to do it. But I could write it. Screenplays aren't too hard. I have to do it or find someone else that could do it for me.
Because the reason I asked, Davey and I and quite a few of the other pirates, we were in a short film with a friend of ours, and it was about a witch that goes back in time and meets a pirate captain who helps her in her quest.
Nice.
I won't tell you who the pirate captain is, but it got Davey and I to thinking, and we started writing some about a 5-scene short movie of our own for pirate. And I think that's the other thing that really comes about when you start talking to other people. You may not be you may not be writing the same style of books. It happens with magicians. We may not be doing the same style of magic, but it fuels creativity.
Yeah.
And that's very important, especially when you're doing these things. And many people say, books are going out of style. I don't think books are going out of style.
No.
On some of my tours at the museum, I end the tour by talking about at least the 5 most noted books that information on pirates has been used to insert into every pirate movie you've ever seen. Because I try to get the kids to understand, go get those books, go find them. They could find all 5 of them for under $50 for all 5 of them. If they look good enough on Amazon, you can go to the public library. But those books have fueled dozens and dozens of movies. Treasure Island, Robinson Crusoe, Swiss Family Robinson, Jules Verne, 20,000 Leagues Beneath the Sea, and Peter Pan. Those 5 books right there are worthy books for children to read, and that's where a lot of the pirate magic comes from. Yeah. So, it's just book reading is to me some of the most important things I can convey to children.
I mean, there's also a magic that happens when you're reading a book. I mean, so for Father's Day, I was given one of those electronic readers. I have like 200 and something books on there, but I won't read a single book on there. I don't know why. I'll go grab a book off my shelf. There is something magical about reading the text and flipping a page and then just being transported to that world, and that world looks like whatever you create in your mind. It's great watching movies. I love movies, but that's someone else's interpretation of that story compared to when you're reading it. A character could look a certain way in your mind. And I think that's why a lot of people struggle when they see like Harry Potter or they see these other books or films that have been created from a book, because that's not the Harry Potter they envisioned, or that's not how Snape looked, or that's not how, Long John Silver looked, when they read Treasure Island. But I will admit, Tim Curry as Long John Silver is amazing. But
Treasure Island.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you get to live in that world, and you're not just a spectator, you're a part of the story. You're living and breathing as you're hunting for Flint's treasure. You're in there as Harry's trying to escape being killed by Voldemort. You're part of it. You're living it. And it's so much different than watching a movie. In a movie, you're a spectator. You're not invested. You're not part of it. Whereas reading the book, you are. And so I think it will never go out of style because of that reason.
I also think this. More often you'll hear people say, the book was better. More times you will hear them say, the movie was better. Because the book immerses you into the whole thing, especially if you allow your imagination to pull you in and now you're inside the story. Whereas the movie, you're just viewing it. And Now, I understand that movies like the new Deadpool movie may have really pulled a lot of people in. I haven't heard one complain about it yet. So
it was fantastic. I have seen it twice. And the thing, the magic with the Deadpool movie is it's Ryan Reynolds. I'll be the first to admit it, because he embodies that character. he just the way he talks, his mannerisms, everything is just done beautifully. But more importantly, you know, his marketing for the film is brilliant, because we've seen all these little random posts between him and Hugh Jackman that's been setting this up for years now. And so to the point where now we want to see this. And not only that, we want to see how they're going to interact as these two characters. And then the soundtrack that they added in is beautiful. The sequences they did, even the intro,
The cameos. You
the
cannot beat
cameos.
some of those cameos.
Really?
Oh my gosh, there's so I can't say
can't
anything
spoil
without
it.
ruining it. If I say anything, it'll ruin it. But
Don't worry about it. We won't put any spoilers out there.
no, I mean,
I'm a huge Hugh Jackman fan too.
Yeah.
Oh, he's amazing in this.
I was never really a big fan of his because he was Wolverine. I liked him in a couple of the other things he did.
Oh yeah,
he was in Greatest Show on Earth.
The Greatest Showman.
Yeah,
The Greatest Showman.
Yeah,
and because of my magic background and my love of circus and being involved in certain things with the circus back when I was younger, that and being a historian on Barnum and Bailey and the whole nine yards, his portrayal in that movie, I just thought that was a fantastic movie. I loved him from that more than I loved him from Wolverine. And he's just a talented guy anyway.
yeah. I mean, the Prestige. I mean, that's a great book that they converted to a
Oh,
film.
yes.
He did a fantastic job in that. So did Christian Bale and David Bowie and Michael Caine. That's a film that just has you like second guessing over and over till the final reveal. It's done just like a magic trick where they finally pull the curtain and you're like, no, I didn't see that.
No.
And then they show you all the breadcrumbs that they did show you that you just missed.
Yeah,
And you're just like, wow.
Wonderful. That's a fantastic movie too. I keep forgetting about that one.
Yeah.
Being a Magician, that was a great movie. So and one of my other favorite actors, and now I can't think of his name. He was the orangutan in the Planet of the Apes movies.
Andy McDowell? Or no, not Andy.
Not Andy. And he also was in. It was a movie. I think it was called Shoot 'Em Up. What's his dadgum name? He also played. He played one of the forefathers. He played. He played he didn't play Samuel Adams. He played John Adams in some of the movies on the earlier.
Oh,
time.
I know who you're talking about.
Paul Giamatti.
Yeah, Paul Giamatti. That's right.
Giamatti, a wonderful actor, a really great actor, and he was in The Prestige also.
Yeah.
And so those two movies, to me, Greatest Show and The Prestige, had great acting, but the storylines are what made those. It's just, those are wonderful shows. And those kind of actors, if you get a chance to even be around them, I suspect that most of the time those kind of actors are the same kind of actors we're talking about now.
Yeah.
They're personable. They talk to you. And that's a very important thing. It's one of the reasons why I like doing what we do. Davey and I have gotten to meet some really cool people, some really great people. I have their pictures on our wall here. We're pretty good friends with the blonde that always slaps Jack Sparrow in all the pirate movies.
Nice.
She lived in Jacksonville. I don't know if she's still here, although I see she's going to be at the con again this year, so she must still be in this area. But so we really get a chance to meet some great people, but their greatness is not as enjoyable to me as the fact that they just want to sit and talk, and they'll talk about anything.
I think that is the greatness, is that they're humans, that they just want to have a normal conversation. It's not about, I'm Hugh Jackman, this famous actor that's Wolverine and so on. He just wants to talk about, everyday normal things. And I think, when you break it down, I think that's what makes them spectacular, is they're human. They interact with you. Henry Winkler, I got to meet him, the
Oh, that would be a good one. That would be wonderful.
he is one of the most amazing men I've ever seen. Because normally when you go to these cons and they're sitting at the table, and there's this huge line, and they're just signing and talking to him and going through this. I noticed something with Henry Winkler that I've never seen done with anyone else, and that was, he saw his line, he noticed a certain person, he would go through, he would take time, he wasn't rushing anyone, sign their things, talk to them, be personal, and when that person who he had noted in his memory got to the table, he stopped, got up from his table, walked to the next person after him, and shook everyone's hand down the line to a certain point and said, "Thank you for waiting. I appreciate your patience. Thank you for being here. It
Wow.
really means a lot to me." And then gets that person and goes back to the table and then gets through to the person to where he stopped at and then does it all over again. It was amazing and fascinating to see that he was appreciating their time that they were taking and waiting for him. And I've never seen that with another actor.
Wow, that's impressive. I know that when my son went and got to meet Dean Cain, there was a connection between him and Dean Cain. My son took pictures and videos, and Dean Cain got up from behind the table and came around. And there's my son and Dean Cain get a huge embrace together, and it touched my son.
Yeah,
it touched him a lot. And I think those things are what it is that we realize when we get to talk to these people in the vehicle that we're using, your podcast or mine. When we get to talk to these people, that's two things happen. One, at least for me, so you can agree if you want. One, the first thing that happens is I tell myself, and I've told Davey this at times, and Davey can attest to this, like when we're at Ancient City Con, this is why we're doing what we're doing. This is it. This is why we're doing it. And the other side of it is, not only is this why we're doing it, but we're the catalyst is the wrong word. I can't think of another word I want to use, but we're the person that is responsible for bringing that person to our friends and our listeners and spreading that talent and that personable actor or character to everybody else. So it's a twofold reason for doing this. I get nervous talking to some of them. I truly do. I was tongue-tied with Barry Bostwick for a few minutes until he started talking about history of Florida and was interested in our pirate history. And then some of them have the ability to really set you at ease. Yeah. Because I think they know.
Yeah. I mean, in the beginning, I was that way. I was nervous. But after a time, I became comfortable because I just realized I'm just having a conversation with another human being, and it doesn't matter how popular they are. It doesn't matter how well known they are. Like if I ever got to interview Henry Cavill, I'd probably sit down and ask him about, Warhammer 40K, because that's what he loves, and I would probably get this in-depth history about that. And it wouldn't be about all these, dumb little things of, well, The Witcher, what did you do in this character and why? It'd be about the simple things to get to know him as a human. And that's a lot of the things I've done. I mean, there was one time we interviewed an entire movie cast, and an actress, she was like super nervous. Like she was fidgeting. She wouldn't talk on the microphone, and we went to a break, and I'm just like, what's going on? She's like, I'm just super nervous. I can't talk. Like every time the microphone comes to me, I just freeze. I'm like, but you've been acting on the screen and that's okay. And you've gone to the red carpet. Things like, yeah, it's just totally different. I'm like, okay, cool. What are you interested in? She's like, oh man, I love Shark Week. I'm like, okay, all right, cool. We came back and then we talked about sharks for 15 minutes. And then we started talking about the movie and she just opened up, because we got her to relax over something that she enjoyed and loved. And then the rest just came easy. And I think, and again, she had it all built up in her head. And once we related to her on a human one-to-one level, she opened up. And I think everyone does that to some level, especially these actors, because they're expecting you to attack them like they're a movie star. But when you come to them as just a human being that, man, Barry loves Florida history. He loves the pirate history. That's what he wants to talk about. Then the tongue gets a waggling, and you have a great show at that point.
Autographs don't mean as much to me as an interaction.
Yeah,
and it's
I agree.
my own personal memory. And then after I've had a good interaction, when I know that interaction is about to end because they've got to go do what they need to do and we got to, that's when I might ask for an autograph. And I'll always ask for the autograph almost invariably the same way.
Mm-hmm.
The autograph is for me to display as part of what I do. So that's it. It's just, the autographs don't mean as much to me. So I do have another question for you.
Sure.
So you've written several books.
Mm-hmm.
You have a great podcast, gone for 15 years now.
Yeah.
And you started your podcast based on gaming. Have you created your own games? I haven't even asked you that yet.
I have a couple designs. I just got to find the right place. Getting into games is a lot harder than one would think. When I first thought, I'm like, writing was easy. Like someone came to me and said, hey, if you publish, I saw some of your stuff. If you ever wrote something, I'd publish it. And I'm like, all right. I went home and wrote a book in 3 months. I have a game design, a couple of them, but trying to find a home for them is a lot harder than trying to find a home for a book.
Is it because there's a lot of people out there writing and building games now?
I think there's a lot more avenues than there used to be. I mean, you could go straight, if I wanted to, I could go straight to Kickstarter and put it out. There's that route, but I'd be a no-name in the game design. There's also, if you want to go through a company that would publish it for you, much like a book, because it's so easy to put a game out through Kickstarter or something like that, I think it's a little bit harder to get through their gatekeepers. I've talked to a couple other people. There's also costs. There's also startup costs involved, where writing a book, I have a laptop, I can just start writing. Designing a game, I have to at least have a workable prototype. So that's some upfront money that I have to spend to build that. And then the other thing is, will my game succeed in the current environment? How many other games are very similar to it that will be competing against it? Basic marketing stuff. So will they ever see the light of day? I don't know, but maybe.
Hey, Davey.
Yeah.
In all of that you got there, do you have the cover of Oli Mackerel's book, the Zombie 1815 book?
Oh, no, not.
No. A friend of ours here in the area wrote a book, and it's about a zombie apocalypse that happens just prior to the American Civil War, which keeps the American Civil War from happening. And it's a combination of zombie, steampunk, military book.
Oh, what is this called now?
It was a really good book, and he's working on the second volume or the second part of it now.
What was the name of it?
Let me 18. Let me see if I can figure that out real quick as we're talking. So tell us, while I'm figuring that out.
Sure.
Tell me, where do you see you're going with your podcast now?
I mean, my podcast is for fun. I mean, it's something that I enjoy doing because it allows me to connect to other people. It allows me to provide that avenue for the reader or the game player to connect with these, authors and game designers to find new books and games that they can play. So that's really the avenue for that. It also gives me a nice little marketing tool for my own stuff. But so I'm going to continue doing that. I enjoy talking to people. So that's kind of my fun thing. Writing books is the thing that I like to do, and eventually like to be able to do that full time. I do have a day job, but it would be nice if I didn't have to have a set day job.
Do you want to tell us what your day job is? You don't have to.
I work for a software company. I'll leave it at that. It's a good paying job. I like the company I work for, but most of my creativity that I would normally be using for writing gets drained from that because, I believe that every day we wake up with so much energy. We have this fountain that we use, and each thing that we do depletes that more and more. And by the time I'm done with work, the amount of creativity that I have left in that fountain is pretty much drained. So it'd be nice if I just wrote all day long and all that creativity could go there. So
And you could be in one of your dragon books. Look, there she is with the dragon.
nice.
So the book is called The Secret War of 1834.
The Secret War of 1834. All right, I'm gonna have to look that up because that sounds amazing.
You might enjoy it. It's a good book. I enjoyed it. I read it. I gave him a good plug. We've had him on the show. He does quite a few of the cons now and talks about his book. And he wrote the book with his daughter. They co-collaborated on it. And it's really, what the hell is that?
That was my dog.
Yeah, all right. My dog's sleeping somewhere. So normally
that's Mandy's fault.
That is my fault. 150%. The dog is my fault.
All right. Well, there you go. So you might like that book if you get a chance. I'm the same way with what you were saying earlier about how your job drains you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a pirate 24/7, and I do tours at the museum. I just did, what's today? Monday? No.
Yeah.
So Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I did 4 tours a day. I'm wore out after the weekend because and a lot of people don't understand why I get so tired. So anybody that's listening, I'll explain it to you. Every one of my tours is like a miniature show.
Yeah.
It's a miniature comedy club routine for me. Although it's 55 minutes, it's a full set. It expends a lot of energy.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, after working 4 tours in a day, when I'm done and home by 4:30 or 5 o'clock, I have to really force myself to have enough energy to do anything else for the rest of the day. And sometimes I just say, screw it. And I sit and watch TV and just relax.
Mm-hmm.
But I find myself falling behind on certain things. And then on a day or two when I have off, like tomorrow and Wednesday, I'll be 24/7 for 2 days trying to catch up on everything I missed for 3 days while doing tours. So
yeah.
I understand that part. It's being a pirate full time is fun. I love it. Wouldn't trade it for anything. But I'm getting older, so I'm slowing down.
Yeah.
And I don't have the same energy I had when I started doing this when I was 48 years old. So,
yeah, no, I completely understand. I mean, even going to these conferences, my ex-wife would always just berate me like, why are you so tired? You're off having fun. I'm like, it's work. I mean, you don't realize it's fun work, but it's work. I'm running from place to place. I'm talking on panels. I'm doing interviews while we're there. I'm meeting new people and making new connections. It's not just, I'm off playing. Some people could say, well, he's off playing pirate. Well, it's fun. It is, but it is work and it drains you. And, you get to the end of the day and you're just tired. You got to relax and rest up so that the next day that cup is full and you can go back at it again.
And I'm pretty much a pirate 24/7 anyway, right, Mandy?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I change characters. You're pretty much stuck as a pirate.
I am. I have the same issue as the original Christopher Reeves or George Reeves of Superman. I've typecasted myself and I can't do anything else. So,
there's nothing wrong with being typecast as a pirate, though.
No, it works. It works,
Yeah.
but it gives me. I mean, it's opened up the doors. We did this movie this year. Davey and I are working on another movie. You're right, Nightingale. We all do need downtime.
Yes, we do.
The Pirate Museum has opened doors. I still have people, and it happened in 2010, 11, 12. I think 2012. There was a television show called Drinking Made Easy. It was a 3-season show, and I was in the 2nd season, I think episode 7. I don't remember. But it was this comedian, and he's a fairly well-known comedian, and he convinced the powers that be to pay him to go all around the world and find weird drinks, alcoholic drinks, and drink to his heart's content. And so he came to St. Augustine, and we did a whole thing on pirates drinking rum and grog. That was 2012. That's 11, 12 years ago, I still have people that'll stop me on the streets in St. George Street and go, "Hey, you're the pirate from Drinking Made Easy."
Yeah.
Like, I guess there it is. So you can't get away from it, and it opens up a lot of doors, and it gives you. I'm always throwing ideas at Davey. Davey's throwing ideas at me. Mandy's throwing ideas. We'll have conversations. Like when the show ends here in a little bit, we'll probably talk for a few minutes because other ideas will pop into our head. We spent 30 minutes this evening before the show talking about ideas of what we could do to add to the content of our show. I'm sure you're doing the same thing. So how do you decide what's going to be on your next show, and how often do you do the show? Can they find your show through dragonsfate.com?
Yeah, I mean, there's a link on there. Pretty much our show is on Spotify, it's on Audible, it's on iTunes, Google Play. It's pretty much anywhere. We've got it plastered everywhere. So for the longest time, we've done a show every week. We record and put out a show every week. When we first started, we meet once a month, record 4 shows, put them out. Then we went to the weekly format. One year we got really insane and crazy and decided to put 3 shows out a week, which we'll never do again. But I think we're probably going to go back to that, meet once a month, record 4 shows and put them out. Just because for the most part, we don't live all in the same area. So we've been doing it remotely, kind of like what you've been doing. But we found that we have more energy when we're doing it together live, and we want to try that, sitting in the same room and doing shows again and seeing if we, some of that magic comes back that we've kind of lost through COVID and being separated. So we'll try that out. We're always trying to find new routines and new things to do. We have a couple of really fun improv games that we've added to our show that have made things really fun and enjoyable. But yeah, I mean, it's just, we're always talking. We're always trying to find new things. We'll meet someone, we'll talk to them, and we'll get some ideas based off of what they're doing, or I'll be doing an interview, or I'll be somewhere and I'm like, oh, that was really fun. How could we kind of twist it to our own flavor and then add it to the show? Because that was really enjoyable and I like that. And the other guys do it too. So we definitely work as a team. We talk about things and collaborate and decide what is the best option to go forward with.
Are they all authors too? Have they written books? Are they into gaming, or do they have some of the same things as you?
It's kind of funny. So I'm the author. Another guy is an actor. He's also, he actually did the audiobook for my second book. So he's that's his thing. Plus he loves video games. The other guy on my show, he's owned a couple of game stores. He is a savant when it comes to games. So that's kind of, that's board and card games. Not only does he design board and card games, but when it comes to deconstructing rules and finding ways to make games even more fun, that's his thing. And then we got a 4th member of our team. He's actually the brother to the actor, and he's kind of our dad joke guy. He loves reading, but he also comes up with really, really bad dad jokes. I don't know where he finds them from, but he gets them.
There's no such thing as a bad dad joke. Come on.
Oh,
we get bad pirate jokes. So.
Oh, no. I mean, I already know the answer to today's joke because of my other guy, but.
So do you know how you can tell he's telling you dad jokes?
How?
They become a parent.
Yeah. Yeah, dad jokes. But our dynamic works. We're not all the same thing. And the great thing is we don't always agree on the same thing, which I think makes any show work. If you're listening to a show where everyone's a yes man and everyone agrees, it's boring. Right. But when you can get some dialogue going and some, disagreement, this is not piratey thing, but the Disney Plus TV series Andor, I think, is atrocious and garbage. The rest of my team loves it. They think it's amazing, and I will fight them to the death with a sword in my disagreement.
Same kind of argument you and I could have, because I am a huge Star Trek fan, but I'm not much for I was a Star Wars fan in the beginning,
Hmm.
but all the things that have come out about Star Wars have just turned me off on it.
And that's fine. And the crazy thing is, I can have a very great discussion with you with Star Trek because I have seen everything.
Yeah.
I it's not like I'm just coming from a place of I hate Star Trek. It sucks. My parents made me watch the original series, Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Discovery. I will admit I do like Star Trek Strange New Worlds, but that's because I have a huge Anson Mount crush. But
I haven't even started watching that one yet.
oh, it is fantastic and
It is.
amazing. But like I watched the Western show Hell on Wheels, Anson Mount's in that. It's about the two railroads combining just after the Civil War ends, and he's in that. And oh my gosh, amazing! And then seeing him in this, it's just it made me say, this is how much I like the show. It was given to me as a birthday present. The first season. Yeah, and everyone else knows don't give him Star Trek, but I got that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you've got a good quartet of people that are being on the show. We did a show here where we have the ability. The studio sits in my man cave.
Nice.
985 square feet man cave. And
that's about the size of my house right now.
Over on the other side, I have a huge poker table. And we did one episode where I had 3 magicians from various venues and time frames of magic. And we just sat around the table and talked about magic and our own old. And it was a great show. And none of us had the same experiences in sharing. And I'm trying to recreate that with another group of magicians. So I'm leaning towards trying to figure out how to create those kind of shows around the table where we have 2 or 3 cameras and we're sitting there around a table in a like the round table.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're working on. That's the best part is when you bring people in, you don't have to agree with anything I like or dislike, because otherwise the conversation would be boring.
Yes.
And it's much more fun to have a conversation where everybody's contributing.
Yeah.
So it's
Mandy's been on my show a couple times and she can contest that it can get kind of, there's one point
it's usually
where
me and you that just sit and argue.
Well, yeah, and I think there was at one point
wait. Mandy doesn't argue with anybody.
Yeah. Yeah, there's one point. Yeah, there's one point one of my other co-hosts said, I just hate everything. That became kind of the joke. Daniel just hates everything. And then of course Mandy comes in, she's like, yeah, I can see that. Because
that's kind of like the old cereal commercial. Give it to Mikey; he'll eat anything.
Yeah, well, it's because I was always being the counterpoint because everyone was agreeing, and I'm like, I have to say I hate this, so I'm the opposite voice, so that this actually goes somewhere. And it just got to the point that I was always pigeonholed in that point that it was like he hates everything
except for Wonder Woman. You defended that Wonder Woman storyline.
Yes, I did.
Well, see, and that's one of those ones that I'll argue with because the best Wonder Woman, in my opinion, is Linda Carter.
Well, yeah.
I just didn't like the story and the twists that they took in the new movies. It's too much of a love story, man. They took away all her power.
That's in the comics.
I was such a Linda Carter fan. I went out and bought her album.
Yeah,
that's
impressive.
And she really wasn't that great a singer.
And she still sings.
And she still
most
sings.
people don't know that.
Yeah, she still sings. And you know what? Still to this day, and even at her age, she's a gorgeous woman. She really is. So I had a life-size picture of her on my barracks wall when I was stationed in Japan in the military.
Nice.
I can't tell you how much money I could have made by selling it because every guy in the barracks wanted to buy it from me.
I'm sure. Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, the only thing that's too bad about her is, she's kind of gotten into this craze where she's had all this work done on her face and it doesn't look natural anymore. No.
And that's probably one of the other things I find funny about celebrities. They feel they need to have to keep looking a certain age. And I prefer them to go ahead and grow old and let everybody in the world know that this is what happens to you.
Well, I mean, Helen Mirren. I mean, she's up there in years, still stunning and as beautiful as ever. And she's not jumping into that, oh, I have to have my face made up.
Yep.
Maggie Smith, another famous actress that clearly you know how old she is, that isn't, but man, she's still a fantastic and amazing actress. I hate, there's so many, like Meg Ryan was such a beautiful, stunning woman, and then she had this work done, and now she's not, doesn't look attractive anymore because
Kenny Rogers, who I was a big
oh
fan
yeah
of, met
yeah
Kenny, but it looked like somebody had taken and grabbed the back of his head and pulled his face too tight.
yeah
I mean, it was just so I just because you can do it doesn't mean you should.
yeah, and he looked great. I mean, I don't know why he did what he did, and Zac Efron's another one. He claims that there isn't anything, but he says, well, I had jaw surgery, and then there was this thing that I've had jaw surgery. My jaw doesn't look massive like his does, where his face looks completely different. I don't know. I don't know why they do this to themselves.
So, who are your top three? Because we're going to conclude with this question because we have a few segments to do. Who are the top three celebrities you've had the privilege of standing and talking to?
From my perspective, that I've really enjoyed.
Yeah.
Mark Hamill, so Luke Skywalker.
Oh, that's a cool one.
Yeah, which is one that I really enjoyed.
Was he friendly?
Oh, extremely friendly. One of the friendliest guys I've ever met. I mean, there's the Michael Rosenbaum one, of course, but the one that I really enjoyed would be the Brendan Routh one, and then Adam Baldwin was a fun one. Probably, talking with him and Nathan Fillion was a great experience. Didn't get to record it because they wanted it off the record, but I got to sit down and chat with them and have a really good time. And Nathan Fillion is just amazing.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I'm pleased to have you be a part of our show. I thank Mandy.
Thanks.
I think we're going to have to do another show with you. Maybe
I'd
we
love
could
to come back.
When you get all your guys together, we could do a show together.
Sure. Yeah, I'll talk to them. We could do that. But
maybe pick something that'll have fun arguing about.
Well, I think we could all find something mutual.
I'm pretty sure we could. And we'll just make sure that you see the microphone on Mandy where it says she's muted. We'll just keep her muted.
Oh, she can talk.
Oh, yeah. I control this, but he knows I've been on his podcast multiple times. He's very aware of what I can do.
I mean, even if you did mute her, she'd probably drive to my house and then start talking to my microphone.
Yeah, probably.
You're like 45 minutes from me.
You can see the comment too, right? That's one of my crew members. That's my first mate. She says, come see us in February.
Yeah, no, February would be fun.
And I think we can figure out some things you bring a bunch of your books, sell the books, whatever you sell, that's yours to keep. You keep it yourself. And Mandy and I will talk about some accommodations and whatever else we need to worry about.
Sounds good.
You drink?
Nope. Unfortunately, I have the really horrible, so out of everything in the world that I'm allergic to, alcohol is the one and only thing.
Well, I'll let you get away with not drinking rum with pirates, but we'll think.
Yeah.
So, Davey,
I can drink something with lots of sugar and I'll be just as crazy.
All right, we'll figure that out. That'll work. We've got fruit juices that we put in the rum, and we just won't put the rum inside of it. So, Davey, why don't you go ahead with Dick Swing's sponsorship of This Week in History? Go ahead and pop that one up there.
Yeah.
Dick Swing's, ladies and gentlemen, if you want a good lunch that starts at $8.99, and Davey and I have had their burgers, love their burgers. They have a foot-long hot dog, 4 different varieties. $8.99 for lunch any day of the week. And they keep my favorite rum on the back of the bar, Diplomatico. And if you have one of our podcast coins, you can now go in and trade the coin in for a free drink. No limit on what that drink can be. So, Davey, let's see This Week in History.
Welcome to This Week in History, sponsored by our good friends at Dick Swing's Bar and Grill. Wings, salads, wraps, quesadillas, and more. No matter what your taste buds crave, they've got you covered. We begin This Week in History in the year 1774. English chemist Joseph Priestley discovers oxygen by isolating it in its gaseous state. 1776, formal signing of the U.S. Declaration of Independence by 56 people, date most accepted by most modern historians. 1863, President Abraham Lincoln issues eye for eye order to shoot a rebel prisoner for every black prisoner shot. 1864, U.S. Civil War, Siege of Petersburg. Union General Ambrose Burnside fails an attack on Petersburg, Virginia, in the Battle of the Crater. 1865, Lewis Carroll publishes Alice's Adventure in Wonderland. 1900, Firestone Tire and Rubber Company, founded in Akron, Ohio, by Harvey Firestone. 1905, U.S. Secretary of War William Howard Taft makes secret agreement with Japanese Prime Minister Katsura, agreeing to Japanese free reign in Korea in return for non-interference with U.S. in the Philippines. 1954, publication of Fellowship of the Ring, first volume of Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien by George Allen and Unwin in London. 1958, U.S. President Eisenhower signs into law National Aeronautics and Space Act of 1958, establishing NASA. 1960, Aretha Franklin's first recording session for Columbia Records in New York City. 1965, U.S. President Lyndon Johnson signs Medicare bill, which goes into effect in 1966. 1969, three-day Atlantic City Pop Festival opens at the Atlantic City Racecourse in Hamilton Township, New Jersey. Performers include Procol Harum, Joni Mitchell, Chicago, Santana, Little Richard, Booker T and the MGs, Sir Douglas Quintet, Janis Joplin, Jefferson Airplane, B.B. King, The Byrds, Creedence Clearwater Revival, Tim Buckley, Hugh Maskella, Dr. John, and the Mothers of Invention. Attendance estimated at 110,000. 1971, The Sonny and Cher Comedy Hour debuts on CBS TV with comic actor and singer Jimmy Durante as guest. And finally, in 1981, 13,000 air traffic controllers begin their strike. U.S. President Ronald Reagan offers ultimatum to workers. If they do not report for work within 48 hours, they have forfeited their jobs and will be terminated. And that was This Week in History.
Very good, Davey. Always like what you throw in the world history. Always is one or two things that even I get to learn on a regular basis. Ladies and gentlemen, we sometimes have the captain's desk or mail call here. I don't have very much, but I do want to make one comment about our show in particular, or in general. In general, I guess would be the way. Because our show now with YouTube is now in a monetary system, they have the ability to put TV commercials on our show. So if you go into YouTube and watch our shows, watch the past 145 episodes, you may see TV commercials pop up in there. I've seen a few already. We do not have any control over what television commercials or what commercials they put on our show. We have no control. So please understand that there are some political commercials that may pop up. We have no control over it. It is not anything that we either agree or disagree, because remember, we try to keep this show as non-political as possible. So that being said, just enjoy our show, because we have a lot of fun putting it together. Davey, I think we need to have
Guest on deck.
Oh yeah, guest on deck. That's sponsored by Marco's Pizza. And we have a little video for that, Mandy?
Yep.
All right, let's see. Marco's Pizza, great Italian pizza. I love them. We've been working with them now for over a year, and it's wonderful to have them here. So let's see what we can do. Go ahead, Dave. Very good, very good, very good. And now it's time for the Joke of the Week reveal with Mini Mayhem. I'm dying to find out about the octopus.
Okay, it's time for the answer to the joke of the week. Why wouldn't the pirate fight the octopus? The answer is, it was too well armed.
Oh.
See,
I only have to listen to that one time and not 8 times. Ladies and gentlemen, we always like to say thank you to everybody that watches and participates and supports us. So we have us a little thank you video. Davey, go ahead.
The Captain's Quarters podcast is indeed a ship sailing the seas of the world, always in search of history, knowledge, and adventure. It takes a crew to run a ship, so we take this opportunity to thank those who help keep this ship afloat.
The casting crew: Captain William Mayhem, Navigator Davy Longwood, Gunner Hellfire Henley, Cartographer Mandy Joe, the Powder Monkey, and Juan Cam.
Helping others gives a crew purpose. Our treasured charities that we support: Inc., investing in kids; the Humane Society of St. Johns County; Aelia's Acres, a no-kill animal rescue zone; and the cadets of the St. Johns County Fire Department. The 4 major charities that we support, but there's always room for more.
You too can be part of the crew and support the show in many ways. Go to Patreon. A small monthly contribution as Powder Monkey or First Mate memberships, or a single contribution. PayPal or Venmo. Go to YouTube. Hit the like and follow buttons to join our ranks and support the show. It does take a crew. Thank you.
If you can't catch us on Monday night at 8 o'clock live, then you can catch us on any one of these platforms: Spotify, Instagram, Stitcher, iHeart, CastBox, Apple Podcast, and Amazon Music. And I am looking at some information about Twitter. I guess I had a Twitter account, which is called X now, and I just opened it up to look. We'll see what happens. Hey, maybe we can interest Elon Musk into being a guest on our show. You never know. Stranger things have happened. Davey, what are our numbers like?
All right.
I think our numbers are pretty strong. At least they feel strong. What do I know? I don't know anything about tech anyway, but they look good. Mandy, are they good?
They're doing all right.
All
really,
right.
the tech person couldn't figure out the mute button.
No, my stupid pop-up on the bottom of my thing came up and tried to put the Olympic Games stuff across the bottom of my screen.
Sure it did.
Yes. You know what it was, Daniel? If you notice, she had to stick her tongue out. If she had her tongue out the right side of her mouth, it would have worked better.
Probably.
Hi, if you have a question or a suggestion, we always want emails. We love having emails. Send us one at captainsquarterspodcast21@gmail.com. Let us know what you think. Even if you don't think very highly, we like to hear. I like constructive criticism. If you want to send us an email and tell us we stink, that's okay too. But tell us how we can fix it. Constructive criticism is always better than destructive criticism. I'm open to it all. As an entertainer for all these years, it's never bothered me. I hope you've enjoyed our show tonight. We always have a great way to end the show. But before we end the show in that way, Davey, I always like to give our guests one last time to say anything they would like to say.
Oh, yeah.
Gives me a chance to catch our guests on the spot.
No, it's okay. Last minute words. Just support your local authors. Support any authors for that matter, because every book you buy helps them, but more importantly, it gives you an opportunity to go on a journey that you'll enjoy and love. I
totally agree with you. Thank you very much for being here, Daniel. I'm glad that we've been able to do this show, and now we have a new friendship.
Yeah.
I look forward
Thanks for having me on.
Do some more shows down the road. Mandy, you doing okay out there? Keep up the good work. We always like to thank you, but we do have a way to thank everybody else. So, Davey, throw it out there.
Part of the podcast.
Part of the crew.
Always. We can't do it without you, ladies and gentlemen. Although we could, it'd just be us talking to each other. We like to have you around. So, ladies and gentlemen, join us every Monday evening at 8 p.m. on Captain's Quarters Podcast. Thank you all very much for watching us. We look forward to seeing you next week when we talk about Marilyn Monroe. Till that time, bye.
Of history's embrace, Captain's Quarters.